Hello, everybody. Welcome to Unmuzzled, a podcast. We spell that with P-A-W because it's all things animals all the time. Today, my guest, senior and medical animals. If you know me, you follow me on social media, you know that's pretty much all we take and foster. So we just got a dog, if you follow me, from a hoarding situation in Tennessee. And as I was looking at the Henry Havens website, I fell in love with every single animal. And it's not just dogs either. So we're going to get to Heidi in 1 second. Before that, sponsors, you're up. Thank you so much to our presenting sponsors. Yucca Fence is a family-owned, trusted provider of high-quality fencing solutions with over 57 years of experience. They take pride in protecting what you love the most and give back to rescues, shelters, and humane societies through their partnerships. They give you a free, no-obligation estimate and use the highest quality materials. For transparency and peace of mind, visit Yucca Fence for all your fencing needs. Canine Cruise is the place to take your pet. They offer dog and cat boarding, dog daycare, pet retail, and mindful day school. Tons of indoor space with a huge yard. Canine Cruise is your one-stop shop for professional pet care in Chicago. Kiki's Corner Natural Pet Foods in downtown Winfield, just a block south of CDH Hospital on the railroad tracks. Kiki's has all your food and health aid needs for dogs and cats. Kiki's Corner for a healthy, happy pet. Sniffing out a new vet? Bond Vet is a new breed of vet care that offers everything from primary care to walk-in urgent care visits. And right now, they've got a special treat for our listeners. You can use code UNMUZZLED to get $50 off your pet's first visit by booking at bondvet.com. That's code UNMUZZLED at BONDVET.com for $50 off. Thank you, sponsors. I appreciate you. I'm bringing Heidi right in because I can't wait. Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So I know that we've been trying to do this podcast for a while, and I believe that a mutual friend or somebody that follows me on Instagram said, Sarah, you need to look at this site and you need to have them on your podcast. So I think I messaged you, and then you were, when we had planned to do the podcast initially, I think you were bringing in another animal. So you were like, hold up, we got to change the date. But I just love your mission. It's obviously, it's named the Henry Haven because of your last name. But it's, you know, I was just looking at your website, Safe Haven for Souls in Need. I mean, that's like, I feel like, you know, every time I do a podcast with somebody that has like a sanctuary or something like what you have, it's, we all in rescue at some point say, oh, I want to open a sanctuary, because like so many of us in rescue want to save the ones that a lot of times can't be saved. So tell me how this all started. I love your mission. I love your website. I mean, it's not just dogs. They live in Arkansas. So tell us how this all came about.
So 20 years ago, my husband was in the Marine Corps. And at that time, I was just going to college, not sure what I wanted to do. And we acquired a puppy. And within a week's time, the puppy fell off the couch and broke his leg, sadly. However, because of that, I kind of got my foot in the door at a large veterinary clinic in New Orleans at the time. And I just kind of started from the ground up as a vet tech. I started as a vet assistant, then became a vet tech. I ultimately became a registered veterinary technician. So I was a registered veterinary technician for about 10 years' time. Since then, I have transitioned into the corporate world. So I work for actually a large pet retailer in the United States. But our passion for pets continues to this day. And thankfully, I have a life partner, my husband, David, who also has that passion for pets. And so all these years, 20 years later, we've just continued rescuing, partnering with specific rescues. At the time we were in Arizona, we moved a lot, let me say that. But you know, in recent years, we've just really focused or honed in on senior and medical needs animals, especially given my background. Even though I'm not a practicing veterinary technician at this time, I still hold my license, and that is very important for us to kind of take those underdogs, if you will, the dogs that maybe folks don't want, or maybe they're hospice. And so ultimately that just kind of has combined over the years. And then approximately 2 years ago, my husband and I just kind of we're on a crossroads in our lives of we're done with a big city. We're done with Phoenix. And so long story short, we ultimately moved to Arkansas, of all places. We are on a dirt road on 5 acres of land. And instead of just doing dogs and cats or small animals, we have also transitioned into livestock and large animals. So right now, we currently have 10 resident dogs, 2 resident cats, 4 miniature horses, 3 miniature donkeys, and 2 sheep.
Wow.
A lot.
I mean, okay, so I think it's important to note. So these animals are staying with you?
Yes. So I always talk to people about that. So while we rescue, we do partner with rescues, or we pull from auctions and things like that where there are animals in need. We also partner with our local animal shelter, Hot Springs Animal Shelter. But any animal that comes to us stays with us until end of life. So we are not into like fostering and adopting and things like that. We focus on end of life or medical needs that, once again, that folks may not have the financial ability to be able to support, or the time to be able to, or the knowledge, and then they are here till end of life.
Like, so I'm getting like teary, like even asking this question, because I feel like it's hard. That's hard. Like, it's hard because you have really seen these animals sometimes from like their lowest point to living with
Absolutely.
you and like blossoming with you, really, and then having to say that goodbye. It has to be, even though you have like vet techs. I say this again. I know that people listen to this podcast every week, hear this all the time. Vet techs should be paid way more than they are. I mean, a lot of times they're like the first person that you talk to at the vet. They see and hear a lot, but I mean, I feel like even with that background, these animals end up being yours. So how hard is that part of it?
You do get, I always say, a coat of rhino, if you will, or armor. I don't say this flippantly, but we do have a high turnover rate with the animals that we take in. I don't even know at this point what our top count has been since, like year over year. I would have to go look in the data, but you do have, 4, 5, 6 that you can lose in a year. And not only do you have, caretaker fatigue, but you also have that grieving process, but you also have those that rely on you day to day. So you have to pick yourself up and move on, which, once again, I'm so grateful for my husband because he's here in the trenches with me doing this work. But to your point, yes, we see animals from all walks of life. Really, how we got into taking on medical cases was a dog was abandoned at our hospital at one point, and we took her in, and we just took her from her lowest point, to your point, and she ended up having a long, thriving life. So she was a puppy at that time. So that was before we started focusing on seniors. We've also rescued a dog, a greyhound, off the racing track that came to us with a broken pelvis. He ultimately had epilepsy. He also had a long, happy life with us, but you just never know what you're going to get into, or how long or how short they're going to be with you, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely. For me, a lot of people always ask because we take in like mostly broken chihuahuas, which is why like this picture is like, it's like, and then looking at, your residence, it's amazing. But a lot of people say to me like, oh, I could never do that. Or like, you have to be, and like, obviously each time we lose one, it's so sad. And I think it's more sad because we are kind of getting them at like 13, 14, 15,
Yes.
so it's like you really only have a few years with them a lot of times. But it does take a special human, like you say, about the armor, because you do have to care. We have 4 right now, which is like definitely our max. And then you're there with all of these. I'm like, I shouldn't even be talking about that. But it is really hard to sometimes bounce back, and you just have to think about all the good that you provided them after, and sometimes we don't know their past. Like maybe their past was good and the owner just, couldn't take it anymore financially. So you can't always blame that. But it is difficult to bounce back, especially when you've seen them through literal hell. So what I love too, as I was looking at your website, you have live cameras. So like you can check in with your animals and people can see like you feeding them. I saw a horse, and then so it might have been you like working in the background. It was awesome.
Yeah. So one of the things that we have, so we're very lucky in that you look out our back window and that's our pasture. So we have a lot of view of our pasture, but if they're in the loafing shed or the barn or the pavilion, we didn't have line of sight to that. So we really wanted to install cameras for ourselves to be able to see the animals when they were outside. And then of course my mom, God love her, she always was like, I want to see what's going on too. So I had it set up with like blink cameras or some, some off brand where she could at least sign into our account. And I was like, but what if, like, of course we're seeing it, but why not broadcast it for others? And so that's ultimately what that came out of or came from is like, hey, who knows? I don't know how many times it's hit. I'd have to pull up the data once again, but like if you just need to pick me up, stop by. Take a look. You never know. You never know what you're going to see. You might see some running donkeys. You might see some donkeys running me over. But yeah, it's just all about just kind of sharing what we do. Also, the transparency. As a nonprofit, it's very important to us to be transparent in not only what we do, but what we spend and things like that. So I feel it's very important for us to broadcast that for everybody to see what goes on in our day-to-day lives with the animals.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's literally what I was gonna say is like you are hiding nothing, which I think
No.
for donors, like how could you not love that?
Yeah.
Speaking of visiting with, you also have a place where people can stay at your
Yes.
sanctuary, which is called the Hideaway.
Yes. So one of the things that when we moved to Arkansas, one of the things that was important to us was not only land, but also space within our home. So while our parents aren't of aging age where they need to move in with us or anything like that, we're trying to think long term and kind of have, what do they have? The in-law casita or whatever they call it. We just wanted to have space for our parents to come and visit ultimately. And really what it has transitioned into is allowing our supporters to come and visit with us. So on our website, you can always visit and say, hey, we have a video there, what the quarters look like. There's a king bed, there's a queen bed. It's fully appointed with laundry, full bath, kitchen, everything is down there that you can imagine. But we invite others to come and stay with us. And once again, you're not required to go out with the animals, but if you want to go out with the animals, you're more than welcome to go out and help out or just hang out with them.
Now, I did a podcast with this sanctuary for wild cats, so like lions and cougars and
Yes.
like big cats. I mean, and they have the same thing. And I like that makes me a little uneasy. I'd much rather come hang out with donkeys and chihuahuas. Let's be real. Like
And the other thing too is we also partner with different rescues. So Rachel from Rescuever, she'll transport down here and we give her a place to stay and no charge. So that way, anyone that's just kind of passing through. One of the things that we also do is there's no fee to stay here. It's just whatever you see fit. If you want to give as a donation, it's a a write-off for our nonprofit or for yourself for the nonprofit. But by partnering with rescues that are passing through, they also have a safe place to stay that's also animal friendly.
yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's who connected us. I should have known that, Rachel. So that's awesome. For you, what is, for Live Like Rue, my nonprofit, our monthly donors, like they literally keep us afloat because we just don't get a lot of the grants, unfortunately, and not unfortunately. Fortunately, a lot of the money goes to rescue groups, and because it's just we have a totally different mission than most people. But I always say our monthly donors keep us afloat. Is there something that people can do to help you? Because I mean, the costs alone to feed that many animals per day is insane.
Yeah, I would say right now, well, once again, so every month, if anyone follows us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, that's where you can find us. But at the end of the month, we always disclose what our costs are. So whether it's our veterinary services, our food, care, our infrastructure, so things like barns and things like that, we actually bucketize them so everyone can see where our funds are going. And I'm going to be fully transparent. At this point, my husband and I are funding about 90% of what we offer here at the Haven for our animals. And we're 100% okay with that, just because when we entered into becoming a nonprofit and a sanctuary, we were already doing everything. This was based off of, becoming a nonprofit was based off of friends and family saying, you really could benefit from this. So by becoming a nonprofit, that has allowed us to accept donations. So one of the things that we always say is, if you provide a financial donation, so a monetary donation, so we have DonorBox, PayPal, Zelle, Venmo, all of those are available on our website. But all of the financial or monetary donations go directly towards veterinary care, period. That's only what we do at this time, because we're not bringing in enough to spread it around. We 100% cover all of the care. We also have an Amazon wish list and a Chewy wish list that allows anyone to select items that are in need for our animals. So that way, instead of doing a financial or monetary donation, you can give an item as well. So those are kind of the two main focuses. And then any gift card that is on either of those wish lists, Amazon or Chewy, any gift card that is provided goes directly towards food. So that way we can tell you exactly where your donations are going.
Well, hey, I would tell you, you're doing things the right way. Even telling people what your monthly bills are for food, like, that's amazing. And I think too, it also drives people to say, hey, like, I want to feed this donkey, for a month or whatever, a week. Like, it's really, really awesome. I know this is hard, but do you have a favorite story, maybe of an animal that you have now or that you lost? It's probably really hard to think, but is there any that you really stand out?
So I had a really cool, to your point, yes, very hard. But one of the really cool experiences, just because it was very informational, and I won't go into too much detail, but in the United States, there is the auction or slaughter pipeline for horses. And what happens is, oftentimes people will get rid of horses and they go into auction, and traders will come in and they flip the horses from auction to auction. They'll go sell it for more, things like that. So I didn't know about this growing up. So it was very important. And I rode horses growing up and I still didn't know. So when I started learning about that, that's what kind of intrigued me about having miniature horses and things like that. So we started looking at rescues within the United States that worked within the auction system. And ultimately, we adopted Effie and Evelyn. Now, I want to be very transparent. Miniature horses do not go to slaughter. Once again, not going to go into detail, but they do not go to slaughter, but they still get stuck in the auction pipeline and flipped. So, with that being said, we ultimately adopted 2 miniature horses. Well, once we connected with the rescue and rescues that would go to auctions, I was like, would you be okay with me actually attending an auction? So I went to one of the biggest auctions in August of last year. It was a very eye-opening experience, very humbling. It was difficult because some of these animals are end of life. They're going to the slaughterhouse. But with that being said, that's ultimately where we acquired 2 of our miniature donkeys. The donkey mother and then the baby. And once we adopted the 2, we knew that there was a possibility that there would be a 3rd donkey, meaning that the mama was pregnant again because of her recently having a baby and then also being at the auction and exposed to intact males. So over this past year, since they arrived in like September of last year, we've been watching Mama, and Mama kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And people were like, is she pregnant? And I'm like, I don't know. So ultimately, we did a blood test back in May, and we learned that Mariposa, the mom, was pregnant. So while we do not encourage breeding of animals, obviously we're very much about rescue and things like that, we also deal with so much end of life that it was such a beautiful moment to be able to welcome a baby donkey into this world and be present with her when she had that baby. So many amazing experiences, but that was pretty awesome, especially given we always deal with end of life. We were able to see beginning of life.
Yeah, I remember. So I saw the video because your voice is like shaky, like you can't believe it's happening.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Such a moment.
My husband and I have opted not to have children. We've been married for over 20 years. So these I know everyone's like, oh, they're not your children. They truly are our children. And once again, that was the closest thing I will ever get to having a baby of my own. So I was very verklempt.
And I mean, so really you saved 3 horses from that auction, which is just
Exactly. Yep.
right. It's so cool. Well, thank you for all you do. I know, I can't even imagine going to that auction. I have done a few podcasts about livestock auctions and investigations that go on there. And I have friends that really do try to save those animals, and also just know. And when people understand that system of livestock auctions and horse auctions and what goes on there, I think it makes you second guess things. That's why I don't eat meat anymore. I mean, this podcast literally changed my views on things so much that I've turned my life totally around. And I mean, even the second time I had the livestock people on, I was still like, I think I was still eating eggs or something. And now it's like so nice to tell them, like, you guys changed the way I live. It really is remarkable. And I think all it takes is for you to, and you don't even necessarily have to see it, but to just hear what goes on. It's so sad. So thank you for saving those broken souls and turning them into, full of life. And I know that ending is probably so hard for you, but I appreciate you joining me. I appreciate Rachel connecting us again. Guys, they could use supplies and donations. And I always, for all of the podcasts, I become a monthly donor as a thank you to the people that come on this show. So Heidi, I'll be signing up.
Thank you.
As soon as we're done here. But thank you so much for your time, and thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate the time.
Yes, Heidi Henry, everybody. Wow. I mean, just look at this. This is like magical. I'm coming to the Hideaway. I'm definitely going to come to the Hideaway at some point. It's just awesome. Look at all those chihuahuas. I mean, it's my dream come true. Thank you, Heidi. Supporting, I can't even talk anymore. Supporting sponsors, you're up. Thank you to our supporting sponsors. On the corner of Montrose and Troy in Chicago's Irving Park neighborhood, you'll find a hidden gem known as Templestowe Pub. They have a great selection of local draft beers, and the Malort is always flowing. Oh no. Join us for a charity bingo event or a tap takeover with a local brewery. Don't want to leave your dog at home? All good, bring them along. Whether you're throwing darts or playing a banger on the jukebox, you're guaranteed to have an awesome time. So head on over to 3135 West Montrose and look for the old style sign. The Canine PT is Chicago's highest rated dog physical therapy clinic, and they're dedicated to enhancing the lives of your 4-legged companions as they age or when recovering from an injury. Give the gift of pain relief to your furry friend. They also offer a discount for rescue dogs. For more information, visit thecaninept.com. Intuitive animal behavior dog training, positive reinforcement, force-free and fear-free training solutions for every dog. Jenna offers individualized training, behavioral boarding, shelter support, and positive reinforcement board and train services. Creating an environment that is happy and healthy for your pets is so important. For more information, go to intuitiveanimalbehavior.com. Thank you, Heidi, from the Henry Haven. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. I really appreciate it. I'll see you next time. Bye.